G'day, I'm Paul. So I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here and make two very bold claims. One, I reckon that is the best looking convertible on the market. And two, I think it has the best sounding naturally aspirated V8 engine on the market. So we'll test that claim out shortly. This is the Lexus LC convertible. It really looked great as a coupe, but now as a convertible, just have a look at it. There's just so much going on here and I think it looks really cool. Now this looks super expensive, but it's not actually that expensive relatively compared to its competitors. So priced at just under $215,000. This competes with things like the Jaguar F-Type, the Mercedes-Benz SL Class, and the BMW M850i as well. Now today we're going to do a detailed review of the Lexus LC convertible. If you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes up on the screen there, or if you're on YouTube, just scroll down and use the chapters below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit subscribe, press the bell icon so you can find out every single time we drive a design icon. Okay, so you've got 10 exterior colors to choose from, and they're all free of charge, which is good, but I need to talk about the design here. So this car is actually much lower than I thought it was going to be. So I'm about 185 centimeters tall, and you can see there that it comes up to about here, but this section is like at knee height. And then when you come down and have a look at this, there is a lot going on here. The angles are incredible. It's kind of like what were those things that, you know, the Etch-a-Sketch, there was like a version of that where you could put your hand in it and it would leave an imprint. It's almost like they've just done this with the front of this car. It's just left this imprint from someone's wall as a designer. It looks really cool. It all just comes down nicely. You've got this 3D element up the top, Lexus symbol here. This car is available with a hybrid, but don't go for that, just go for the naturally aspirated V8. So very good looking, I think, but some people aren't so convinced. Some people think it's a little bit too much and there's a little bit too much going on, because you can see here with these LED running lights that there's just angles everywhere, full LED headlights. And let me know in the comments section below, do you think the design looks good, or do you think there's just a little bit too much going on here? Okay, let's have a look at these wheels. So 21-inch alloy wheels, they are absolute whoppers. You get Pilot Super Sport tires as standard, and have a look at this wheel design. It is something else, isn't it? So you've got this brushed chrome on the inserts and then black on the other side. I would just love to see a few more wheel options instead of just having a sort of fairly narrow selection. I don't know that this chrome look will be for everyone, but I think it looks pretty good. Now, in terms of the brakes, they're fairly big as well. 338mm rotors up the front with 6-piston calipers, 308mm rotors at the rear with 4-piston calipers. Have a look at this wing mirror as well. So you've got the black section on the top, and then it has chrome there with a really thin aspect for the indicator. But I want to show you a couple of other things, and we'll start down here with the door handle. So to keep all of this flush, the door handle tucks away when the car's locked or after a certain timeout period. And then when you do want to use the door handle, you just push on the outside there and it pops out. You can see the little Lexus logo up the top. You've got some air vents tucked away down there, and then have a look at this. This is what the interior looks like with someone walking past on the outside. I think it looks really nice. It looks high-end. It looks very futuristic. I would love to see some more colors in there, and we'll go into a bit more detail when we go inside the car, but you can get different colors if you want to. Lexus symbol on the back there, and then the world's tiniest rear window. Looks a little bit funny. Let's have a look at the rear of the car. Now, while the front's quite busy, it's a little simplistic around here. So you've got these chrome edges on the top, LED lights, and they're multi-tiered, so they have a bit of depth to them. Indicator falls away down the side there, real exhaust outlets, and then just very basic LC500 lettering on the back, and then a brake light as well. I think it looks really nice, both as a convertible and also as a coupe when the roof's closed. So we're inside the LC. Let's start with the key. I'll show you what that looks like. It's a pretty heavy key. It's got a bit of weight to it. Lock, unlock, boot, panic, and then you've got a little bit of Lexus there. Plastic on that side, brushed aluminium around the side, and then on the back, Lexus with what feels like leather on the side there. So really nice looking key. We haven't seen a key that I've really enjoyed this much in a while. So now what about styling? Okay, so I mentioned earlier that this looks a little bit bland with the one color because it's just black, 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 black. You get a little bit of this brushed aluminium here, but for the most part, I think it is worth having a look at the different color options you can get for the interior, because it'll really just add a bit of character to it. But if we put that to one side, there's a lot going on here, and it kind of suits the design. You've got a lot going on at the front, a lot going on at the back, but you can see here all the different lines and the tiers. You've got the infotainment system there. There's this glass element that hides a textured layer behind it. You've got an analog clock as well, and then all of these brushed aluminium surfaces, and then a grab handle as well, just in case you decide to take up drifting or something in your LC. Now, in terms of all the surfaces though, this is all very, very nice and plush, and you'd expect that from a Lexus. And in terms of your touch points as well, all of that's nice and soft, but how soft is it? Well, we've got our durometer, we've tested the main surfaces on this car, and if you want to see how it compares to other cars that we've tested, check out the description below and follow the link. What about build quality? It is built like a tank. This is the other thing that Lexus is good at. They take the Toyota build quality and then just take it up another 50 levels. This feels like it's still going to be working in 20, 30 years time. Let's talk infotainment. So what I'll do today is just give you a brief overview of the infotainment system plus the screen ahead of the driver. Now, this is where it kind of falls apart for the Lexus LC, and Lexus in general, their infotainment system just isn't very good. So you get a 10.1 inch display that sits here behind this Perspex panel, and it's all driven by this unit here. So you have shortcut buttons, a power and volume, and then also the ability to tune and also seek. I do love the texture of it. It's knurled, it's beautifully finished, cold to the touch, but the problem is it's kind of like a computer, but not a very good one. So you have to use this touchpad to move a mouse around the screen, and then it kind of sticks to points on the outside. It's actually quite difficult to use while you're driving, so yeah, not very good for that. But anyway, you have inbuilt satellite navigation. If we jump back to the main menu, your audio comes in the form of AM, FM, DAB+, digital radio. You've got a CD player as well. And then if we jump over to integrated smartphones, you have both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This is one of the redeeming features because have a look at that. That is a full screen integration. It is really nice and sharp, nice and quick as well. But again, the problem is it's all driven by this thing. So you've got to then, move around and faff around with that before it actually does what you need it to do. I'll show you what Android Auto looks like. There it is there. Unfortunately, not a full screen integration. Well, it is full screen, but you're not able to get the components of it across to the other side of the screen. It's sort of got that section off to the side that you can't really move around. So now, by the way, if you want to see a comparison between Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, we've actually shot a video on it before. You can click up here to watch that. Now, in terms of the rest of the infotainment system, there's also where you use your climate controls. So you have your climate controls down here, but the problem is if you want to activate your heated or cooled seats, the heated steering wheel and that kind of thing, you have to come into this menu and then again, go through the controls to actually find what you need. So it is just a little bit clumsy, and I just wish they could really just redo this whole thing and just start from scratch. Now let's move over to the screen ahead of the driver. So you get this display that gives you all of your driving information. You have a digital speedo in the center there, the gear that you're in, warnings, the drive mode, and then you have engine temperature, fuel, and then also oil temperature as well. But check this out. So you can move between things that are displayed on the screen here. So you get a little G bubble. You've got your average fuel economy, range, tire pressures, gear position, etc. But one push of this mechanically moves that center display all the way across. Well, it doesn't actually move the display, it moves that circle and then the display updates accordingly. And then on the left-hand side, you have the ability to see further things such as compass, vehicle settings, all the safety systems, etc. So I think this is a really cool setup. I haven't seen any other cars use this type of system before, and I think I could play with this all day. Moving on from the screen and onto audio, you've got a 13-speaker Mark Levinson branded sound system, 918 watts. And then in terms of connectivity, you just have in here 2 USB ports and a 12-volt outlet. Okay, and what about safety? You have autonomous emergency braking, you have radar cruise control, which is activated here on the steering wheel, lane keeping assistant, blind spot monitoring, and front and rear parking sensors. And let's have a look at the reverse view camera. Now I've got to switch the car on for that. Okay, flip this into reverse. Yeah, okay, so it is literally just a reverse view camera with guidelines, and the quality is pretty average. It's actually quite hard to see, but I think it'll do the job. Moving on to practicality, and we'll start with storage. Your trusty coffee cup easily lives there and it's not impinged by anything. You've also got a little cup holder up the front there that easily seats your coffee cup too. And then in terms of water bottle storage, that easily fits there. It does move around a bit though, so it really is only that spot up the front there for your bottle. Then the bottle can also fit inside the door sideways as well. In terms of storage in this center console, this both moves forwards and, whoops, I'll get the key out of there, moves forwards and backwards. See how it's nicely padded on the return as well. I like that. And then it opens sideways to reveal a storage space in here. This is also where you'll find the connectivity stuff I showed you before. Then finally you have what is possibly the world's smallest glove box. It fits the manual and not a whole lot more. Finally, you have some netting all the way down here. Okay, so what about comfort? Well, you have dual zone automatic climate control. You have a heated steering wheel, heated seats, cooled seats. You also have these heater vents that warm your neck up, so you can drive this through the dead of night if you want to. Steering wheel sits beautifully in the hands. You've got these paddle shifters too, they're quite metallic. All of these controls are easy to reach, and I think it is worth pointing out these seats, have a look at them. They're really comfy to sit in, but they just have this really cool texture with the perforations. You can see a lot of effort has gone into designing these seats and giving them that feel-good factor. The seats are also electrically adjustable, and you've also got memory on the driver's side as well. Now, before I show you the back seat, have a look at this. I love this exposed carbon. You can see this throughout the car because there is a lot of carbon fiber used. I think this is a really cool look, and it just gives you an idea of the amount of engineering they've put into this thing. Okay, so you would have noticed this is a four-seater, but there is a slight issue. Igor, can you give that seat a little pull for me so I can get it out of the way? Okay, so this has a fancy mechanism that pulls the seat out of the way, but you'll notice there isn't a great deal of room there. And let me show you behind me. I'm in my regular driving position now, and I can fit basically 2 or 3 fingers behind me. So I don't think you'll be fitting adults or even kids back there. I don't know why they put 2 extra seats in. Okay, let's talk cargo space. So you don't open the boot by pressing around down here. You've got this tiny little button off to the side, one push of that, and then it opens. Yes, I know, it's not the world's biggest boot. There's just under 150 litres of cargo space here. And here you have your battery and also some relays and fuses. You have a couple of hooks off to the side, plus a first aid kit and a warning triangle. Now, I'll be keen to see if our bags actually fit in here, so I'm going to wedge that off in the corner. I'm more worried about this one. Let's see how this goes. Oh no, this will fit. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this going to close with that? Well, that bag compresses and it all closes fine. So, not the world's biggest boot, but you can actually fit your bags in there if you need to. Now, before we go for a drive, I want to show you how the roof works because I think the mechanism is actually pretty cool. It lives under here, so that's how you open and close the roof, and this allows you to open and close all 4 windows at the same time. So here we go. I'm going to push and hold this. It opens and closes within about 15 seconds, and you can use it up to around 50 kilometers an hour. So let's give it a shot. So I love those little things that flip out there. And then the rest is fairly traditional. It's a soft top, so it comes in, latches on, and then the rear of the roof closes up, and then the window drops down, and then it'll give me a beep when it's done. There we go, Bob's your uncle. So we've just hit the road in the LC500, and you're about to check my theory about the noise. I'll get to that in just a second, but let's get through the boring bits, and boring I mean just all the specs and stuff. So it is powered by a naturally aspirated 5-litre V8 engine, produces 351 kilowatts of power and 540 Newton meters of torque. That's all mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission, and Lexus claims a combined fuel economy of 12.7 litres per 100 k's, and we're pretty much bang on that. We're at 12.8, so lives up to its claim. Doesn't use all that much fuel, despite the fact it doesn't have turbos and all that sort of stuff. Now, why is this engine so good? It is smooth. You don't have any turbochargers interrupting that natural flow of torque. It is just an incredibly smooth engine, and it does exactly what Lexus is known for. Now, talk about the drive modes. There's literally a litany of them to choose from. You change them up here. You have Sport, Sport Plus, Normal, Custom, Comfort, and Eco. I don't know why they have so many drive modes. You're either going to be in Normal, or Comfort, or Sport Plus. I don't really understand why there's so many other drive modes. Okay, so we're in normal mode, and yeah, it's just super smooth. There's always torque delivery. Yeah, it's a 10-speed auto, which means it can hunt, but in this instance, it really doesn't hunt. It leans on the engine's torque band. Even though it isn't turbocharged, there's still plenty of torque available in the mid-range. It means that whenever you get settled into the throttle, it just starts giving you what you need. The ride is really nice as well. It's not like some of the other high-end Grand Tourers like your M8s that just don't know what they are. And what I mean by that is the M8 is colossally quick, but it then doesn't do the Grand Touring thing right. And then it doesn't really do the quick thing right. Like, it's not an agile Porsche 911, you know, so it doesn't really know what it is, whereas this very much knows what it is. It is a Grand Tourer and then a sports car second, and it very much feels that way behind the wheel in this normal mode. And then in normal mode as well, everything else is nice and soft, so the steering is not overly communicative, but it is very gentle and easy to turn the car. The steering ratio is quite fast as well, so it means that even in normal mode, you don't have to have much steering input to point the nose. It really just all happens nicely. So there's a lot of assistance there, which is good, but that all becomes a lot heavier once you start moving through the drive modes. Let's talk turning circles. So 11.8 meters. It's a pretty decent sized turning circle simply because it is a big car. Well, I say it's a big car, but it doesn't really feel like a big car. I can see clearly down the front there, but the thing that is a little deceiving about this is the length of the bonnet. When I go to park, I'm always super conscious of it because when you stop early, which is what I always do, you're still right up against the curb. So it is a really long front end that you need to be super mindful of, but you get front and rear parking sensors, so it's not that bad. And it's not like an Aventador, which takes up the entire lane. It looks big and wide from the outside, but from the driver's seat, it actually doesn't take up that much road space, and it means that you can be comfortable driving it. And then that translates to the noise as well. The noise is interesting because just like every other Lexus, it is dead quiet in here. Normally with these soft tops, you get a whole lot more road noise coming into the cabin, especially with these Michelin Pilot Supersport tyres, but Lexus has killed all of that, and it is a really nice and quiet place to be driving, and that engine stays quiet as well until you start rifling through some of these drive modes. Now, speaking of which, let's get this roof off. I'm going to dial up sport mode as well and have a bit of a listen to it. Okay, there it comes. It's actually nice and quick. Oh, a lot of wind in the cabin as it comes down. All right, there it goes, tucks away. Windows come up, but we'll leave those down. Okay, sport mode, you activate that by turning this little switch up the top here. Okay, so that's now in Sport Plus mode. I'm gonna do the gear shifts myself. I can feel the suspension has become a little harder. The steering is a little heavier. These nice meaty paddles behind the steering wheel. Oh, that noise is stupid. Wow, it sounds so cool. Oh. It's like an old school V8. Wow, that is stupidly good. All right, here we go again. Oh my God. It sounds seriously incredible. Wow. I'm not gonna get sick of that. That is unbelievably good. So that naturally aspirated V8, it is just, it's a free zone. Everything that comes out of that engine comes straight out of the pipes, and it is such an awesome exhaust note. Kind of reminds me of the LFA. No, it's not the same sound, but it feels genuine like the LFA does. Okay, so while you have a bucket load of noise that you'll never get sick of, by the way, it's not the best handling car in the world. It's got a fair bit of scuttle shake as we hit bumps mid-corner. When I say scuttle shake, that's the body moving around as you collect a bump mid-corner. It's just the chassis not being entirely strong, but I don't think anyone that buys this car is really going to care. You can throw it around and still feel confident in it. It stays flat enough through the corners, and it's not overly firm either. They haven't gone nuts with that sport mode. And then it feels most at home on sweeping bends. Once you get it tucked in, it stays fairly flat. The tyres have stacks of traction as well. Those Super Sports are generally a pretty good tyre. But yeah, as you hit those mid-corner bumps, you certainly do sort of feel it moving around a bit. Okay, so I'll pop this back into normal, and let's just talk wind inside the cabin. If I actually put all the side windows up, it's actually really nice in here. That little window in the back there just stops air circulating inside the cabin. It's also a little diffuser you can fit to the second row as well that just prevents it from becoming too turbulent in here. But for the most part, once you stick the windows up, you can have a conversation with your passenger or your cameraman very easily. So the Lexus LC500, I said at the start of the video, I reckon this is one of the best looking convertibles on the market, and I think it's the best sounding naturally aspirated V8 on the market. I know it's a bit hard to convey that stuff in video, but Yeah, let me know in the comments section below. Do you agree that this is a really good sounding V8? I think you got to hear it in person. If you ever get the chance, stand behind it while it flies past it. It really is something special. Okay, so what do I think about it? Look, it's soft, which is good because you're buying this because you want a soft cruiser. It's kind of a little different to the BMW M8, which is just too harsh and just too over the top and then doesn't do the cruiser thing. I think this straddles the line beautifully between performance and also that luxury element. It is ultimately let down by that infotainment system. It just honestly does my head in. It does have smartphone mirroring now, which helps a lot, but I think that would prevent me from actually buying one of these. So let me know in the comments section below, did you like this? Do you like the sound? Have you bought one? Have you ever seen one out on the road? Do you think we should see more of them out on the road? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section below. If you did like this video, make sure you hit like. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon so you can find out every single time we drive something new. But until next time, take it easy.